Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, where today we are going to be dealing with emergency preparedness. And it's kind of a solemn subject. It is all about wildfire. About 30 years or so ago, when I was married to my previous husband, we lived in Washington State, and all of my children except my youngest two had already flown the nest, and they were in middle school and high school, the two that we had living with us. And we lived in a very small wooden frame home, rental home, and it was in a neighborhood where the homes were quite close together. In the middle of the night, I woke up to some clanging sounds for some reason, and noticed that there was kind of an orange glow coming through the shade in our bedroom. So I raised the shade and looked out, and the house next door to us was on fire. So I immediately alerted the children and my husband. We moved the cars out of the driveway, started collecting a few things that we wanted to save. The fire department came, and they had the blaze under control in very short order, and there was no damage to the rental house in which we were living. But it was the first time in my life that I ever experienced that gut-wrenching fear that our house might burn down. We now live in the western United States, and southwestern, much farther south than Washington State, where fire danger in the summertime is a matter of everyday life. We are always under fire watch, and it is exacerbated and has been exacerbated over the past few years by the fact that this whole area of the country, this whole geographical region, is in a long-term drought. And so our days are very hot and dry. The air is incredibly dry, and the winds blow almost every day. And so we have fires raging all around us. Wildfires. I'm sure that you have heard of the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. That wonderful historic resort has been burned, and many of the cabins that are well over 100 years old were lost to a fire. But in any case, I have grieved over that loss. And that fire 3 weeks later is not anywhere near contained and is still raging and growing. We have a wildfire that is continuing to burn up near the cabin, and it's about 20 miles from the cabin. It's mostly contained, but it is not 100% contained. And there are other fires nearby closer to us than the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, down in Arizona, and also some in Nevada. And it has just set my heart pounding to think that at any moment we could have a dry lightning strike that would ignite the area around us. And so we are living with the threat, extreme threat of wildfire this summer, last summer, every summer in my recent memory as we have lived here. We are not alone. And wildfires, even though the West, and particularly California, are famous for wildfires and the destruction that they caused, wildfires can occur anywhere in our country. And so I thought it might be timely for us to address things that will help us, for those of us that are homeowners and property owners, and even if you live in a rental place but you have complete charge over the property, of things that we can do to help prevent wildfire. I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of research, and I started out doing that for our own information. You know, on our channel, we have always emphasized that knowledge is power. And I have learned so much about wildfire, and now have, Jim and I have a plan for changing some of the vegetation on our property. Some people live under the misconception, well, there's just not anything we can do about wildfire. We can't control it. Well, there is something that we can do to protect our own property, and we're going to be talking about that. Plus, I am going to be giving you 3 links that might be very, very helpful to you if you also want to learn more about wildfire. Today, I'm only going to be touching on the basics, but this knowledge is very powerful knowledge. And the fact that I'm giving you some resources, you can even increase your knowledge more by going to those resources and following up with the information that is there. So I want to start with this question: are you and your home Firewise? I started off with the working title of Is Your Home Firewise? Because there are lots of things that we can do to our homes and properties to make them Firewise. But then I thought, this can't happen without human intervention and the knowledge that we carry. And so I added, are you, and I include myself here, are you and your home Firewise? Well, what does it mean to be Firewise? Well, I want to go through just some very general things. Now, as I mentioned, I have done a lot of research, a lot of reading on this. And so these are kind of generalized things, and then we'll get into a little bit more specific. First of all, we need to be able to recognize warnings and alerts. Now, for most of the summer, I have had on my computer a tab that all I have to do is click on that tab, and it takes me to the fire map for our region. And it shows the current active fires, and I can click on any one of those little flames that indicate there's a wildfire, and I can find out information about each one of those fires. I'm trying to stay current regarding the wildfires that are in our region. But in thinking about the threat of wildfire, we need to be really smart about things and keep information at our fingertips so that we can know in a moment's notice and know where to go to get the information. Then it's important to review your important documents, and particularly your home insurance. What are the fire clauses there? Do you need to increase your coverage there? And are they in a fire-safe box or container of some kind so they won't go up in a blaze? Then this one is the one that we're going to be spending most of the time on today, and that is harden your home against wildfires. One of the things that I learned as I was reading and studying was that, I don't know if you've experienced this, but we certainly have. As we drive around in this area and go on our little trips, we go through burn areas, and every once in a while, here is a home in the middle of a burn area that is completely untouched. And the point that is made over and over in the literature that I have been looking at is it is not the location of your home, but it is how ignitable is your home. And so in order to make our homes less and less ignitable, there are lots of things that we can do to harden off our homes against wildfires, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Then make an emergency plan and practice it. An emergency plan needs to include how will family members get out of your home in the event of a fire? If you have a 2-story home, do you have an escape route for anyone who's asleep on the 2nd story? Do you have ladders, those window ladders that you can just, you can put them under the bed. They fold up, they're like on chains, rungs on chains, and a big hook that goes, you thrust open the window, put the hook over the window sill, and then the ladder extends down, and then children can get out. You can get out. And have you assigned family members to check on younger siblings or younger children to help them get out as well? If you have a plan, then be sure to practice it. And then if you are told to evacuate, please do it. Don't let your life be lost because of an unwise decision, but know what your evacuation routes are. Out of our home, once we get out of our driveway and up to the main highway, we only have 2 directions we can go, right or left. And so we're a little bit limited in the possibility of getting out. It depends on where the fire is and how closely we might be encircled. And then practice those routes. If you are evacuating, have a plan of where you're going to go. For us, it would be the cabin right now. And even though the cabin is still in the middle of a fire danger area as well. And we're rethinking some things about the cabin, but it's a place that, unless it is also in the middle of a fire, we can go there. But have a hotel picked out, or have relatives or friends picked out and notified in advance of where you might need to go if you need to evacuate. And then gather supplies, have go bags ready to go. And you shouldn't be gathering supplies as the fire is raging around you. Those go bags should be ready to go. All you have to do is pick them up and put them in your car and get the heck out. And then last of all, keep your cell phones charged, because that is going to be your connection with what is happening to the fire in your area. So let's talk a little bit now about this. How can we harden our home against wildfires? And this is what I was mostly researching, because it is pertinent to us. We need to do a few things around our home to make our home more fire-wise, as we ourselves have become more fire-wise. So some of the things that are suggested is to make sure that you use fire-resistant materials to build, to renovate, and to repair. Our home is stucco on the outside. That is a non-flammable material. We still need to check into our roof. We have a flat roof that has, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a single piece of material that rolls out like a carpet and up and over things. A membrane. It is a membrane. And I'm not sure how fire retardant it is, and we need to check that. We should have an outdoor water spigot where we have attached a hose, and keep it attached at all times, a hose that is at least 100 feet so that we can get water to wherever we might need it. And then it is always also a good idea to designate a safe room in your home if wildfires are nearby, but your home isn't threatened, but the smoke is really, really thick. And we have talked about a safe room in your home before. We have a video on that. It was not for wildfire. It was for when a dangerous toxin is released and airborne. Well, smoke can also be a dangerous toxin, so you might refer to that video, and I will put that at the end of this video as well. So I went to one of the websites that I really liked was, National Emergency Fire Center. And this is one of our links that I'm going to put below. 3 links. This is one of the links. First of all, it says, you can minimize property damage and protect firefighters by hardening your home. Research tells us that most homes ignite during a wildfire as a result of embers. That was new information for me. Embers are the pieces of wood and debris that are on fire that are carried away by the wind that is created by the wildfire, and they can travel up to a mile, I learned. And then they land on other people's yards and roofs, and that's where most home fires ignite by embers. There are steps that homeowners can take to reduce the risk, with the most important efforts occurring on and immediately around the home. Look around for your home for those small places where embers may sneak in to ignite and build a fire. So I'm going to read quickly their points, and then I'm giving you a link to this very document so that you can print it off and have a copy of it. Use fire-resistant building material, and we've already mentioned that. That's the best thing that you can possibly do. And that would include what the material your roof is made of, and then also the siding, what kind of siding you have. One of the other links that I'm going to talk about in just a minute actually showed a fire burning one home that was completely engulfed in flames because it had a wood shake roof, and the home next to it not burning. They were side by side, closely side by side, because the home that was not burning was fire-wise. Then maintain a survivable space. Things that you can do today, how to protect your home. Clean roof surfaces and gutters regularly to avoid accumulation of flammable materials. Remove portions of any tree extending within 10 feet of a fireplace flue or chimney. Keep branches off the roof. Place a 1/2-inch screen, a spark arrestor, over all flue and chimney openings. Clean debris from exterior attic vents and crawl space vents. Install 1/8-inch screen over those to prevent embers from entering. Landscape vegetation such as shrubs should be spaced at least 15 apart to minimize fuel loading. Remove low-hanging branches from trees. A fuel break should be maintained around all structures. And then it refers us here to the home ignition zone, which we're going to talk about, and that is our second link. Dispose of Dispose of stove or fireplace ashes and charcoal briquettes only after soaking them in a metal pail of water for 24 hours. Store gasoline in approved safety cans away from occupied buildings. Propane tanks should be far enough away from buildings for the valve to be shut off in case of a fire at the home. Keep the area clear of flammable vegetation. All combustibles such as picnic tables or wood piles or lounge chairs or whatever should be kept away from structures. Physical address should be visible from the street clearly, and your driveway should be clear so that fire equipment can come in. Each home should have at least 2 different entrances and exit routes. Have fire tools handy, such as ladders long enough to reach the roof, shovel, rake, and bucket for water. So this little document has a picture on the front, which of course you can't see, but it gives an example of different things that need to be done around the home. So I think this might be very useful to you as well. So let's talk about a little bit more about fire. And I learned most of this through a little, it's like a little mini class that, and that is our third link, is that this little mini class. It takes about 10 or 12 minutes to go through, and you advance it slide by slide as you read. It speaks the information, and then you advance it, and every once in a while there's a little quiz you can take to test your knowledge. I like that kind of stuff. It helps me know if I'm really comprehending what it's saying, and the quizzes are easy, like they give you pictures, and over here they give you statements, and then you have to match the statement with the picture, so it's fun and it's easy. But there's a lot of really good, clear, factual information about fire, how it works, how heat transfer works, how homes ignite and burn, what is the science behind all of that. So I am just going to give you an overview of some of that information, because you can go through that little course yourself and learn everything just like I did. One of the things that I felt that that was excellent that they presented was this triangle, that this is what they call a worst case scenario. This is when most homes ignite, is in this triangle, which includes weather, topography, and fuel. When the weather is hot and dry, when the wind is blowing, and that's what is happening all over the West in this drought condition, and that is what fuels these wildfires. Most are lightning strikes, but some are caused by humans. Then the topography is important to know. Topography is the angle. Do you live on a hill? Is your home at the top of the hill? Is your home at the bottom of the hill? Do you live in a canyon? Canyons can sometimes turn into wind tunnels, which really move fires fast. On a slope, if a fire moves more quickly uphill than it does if you are flat. This is one thing in our favor. Our land is just as flat as a tuna can. And so we don't have neither canyon nor slope to worry about. So that has given me just a little bit of peace of mind. And so the topography will dictate how the fire will run. And then fuel. And this is where we can do our work. We can't control the weather. We can't control the topography of the land which is around us, unless we have particularly bought a home with that in mind. But most of the time we can't control the topography. But the fuel, because this is a worst case scenario, a fire cannot burn unless there is something that is combustible. And they have identified 3 different levels of fuel. There's fine fuel, which is like grasses, dead leaves, needles, and it can be green. Grass can even be green, and they especially note including native grass. And that's what we're doing at our place. We're trying to grow native grasses so we don't have to water anything, that they'll grow with whatever water is available just right here. And fires can spread quickly through that. And the recommendation is to keep everything mowed to 4 inches or less, all of this fine fuel. Then there is ladder fuel, which includes shrubs and small trees. It's called ladder fuel because fire will use that as a ladder to burn and then jump to either homes or larger trees or whatever. And so it is a pathway for the fire to achieve height. And then heavy fuel includes large trees, outbuildings, fallen logs, your wood pile for wood burning stoves, and all of those types of things. These take longer to ignite, but they burn longer and they burn hotter, and they create embers. And those embers, the heat generated by a fire moves and makes its own wind as it moves by convection. That rising hot air travels, the embers travel, and they can go up to a mile. All right, so we can control all of this. And one of the most important statements that I learned is that heat moves ahead of the fire, and that fires will only advance from one spot to another spot, provided the new spot has all the conditions that make that provide combustion. And so if we can remove some of the things that cause combustion, and that would be the fuel, the oxygen, and the heat. We can't control the oxygen, we can't control the heat, but we can control the fuel once again. And so if we diminish the fuel. And so here is another link that I'm putting here is it teaches us about the ignition zones. So if this is our house right here, they identify 3 ignition zones. 5 feet around the house, which is this little turquoise line, is the immediate zone. And they recommend that no vegetation or combustible items be there. Well, we violate that all around our house. And so there are some places where we're going to be removing some vegetation. And then they go into more detail about the purple line, which is 30 feet out, and then 100 feet out. Now, I can tell you that this is the first time in my life that I have ever lived in a place where we have 100 feet of our property surrounding our house. Most of the time it was like 15 feet in neighborhoods where houses were close together, and many of you probably find yourself in the same situation. But the link here that goes into detail about this is very, very helpful in terms of how far apart trees should be and things that you can do to make sure that you diminish the fuel. And so our concentration is to diminish the fuel around our home and to make fire breaks. Like we have driveways and sidewalks where we have concrete, which acts as a fire break. And we're thinking about what else we might do in terms of vegetation, having places just devoid totally of vegetation to act as a fire break. Now, last Saturday, Jim and I spent some time out in our yard starting on our project to make our home more Firewise. We have a long way to go, and perhaps you do too. But we're getting started, and we're getting started right now. We're going to keep working on this. It's not something that we can do in a single day, even a week or two. It is going to be over time. But there are some things that we can do immediately. We can get a 100-foot hose and hook it to a water tap. We can do that. That's an easy thing we can do. But we can't change what our roof material is. We're going to look into that, and if we need to spray it with a fire retardant, then we will. It's those darn embers that would get us if we had a fire nearby. But we'll just show you exactly what we are starting on. So here are a few little clips showing us working last Saturday.
Okay, part of what we need to be able to do on our property is start cleaning out some of the tumbleweeds. And Pam's going to be doing that, and you can see the tumbleweeds here and down here and back here. And one of the problems we have with the tumbleweeds is once they dry out, they blow away. And with that, they're very combustible.
Here you can see a lot of our native grasses that we're trying to grow. They're quite tall, and they've come in everywhere under trees. There are also some suckers from our cottonwood trees as well. Little glimpse of Jim getting ready to do some work here. So here is the after picture. We've spent a couple of hours out here. Jim has done a lot of weed whipping, and you can really see a difference here. The grass is now below 4 inches. He weed whipped around the Vigo gardens. He keeps those low for me, so that is nice. There is the pile of tumbleweeds that I took out this morning. And he also got around this tree. Now we still have lots to do. We're going to be working through the fall and early winter to get things done. For instance, this tree is pretty much dead and the bark is coming off, so we're going to be taking that tree out. We have a dead cottonwood in the back there. Here we have a blue spruce. Spruces are have very stickery needles. It's hard to work with them, but there are some dead branches, and the dead branches are at the bottom, which is very much a fire threat, and there are lots of old leaves under there as well. So we need to get this tree worked on as well. And we will probably be enlisting the help of our son David and son-in-law Mark in order to do this. So this is our start at making our home Firewise. So I hope that you have found this information useful of how you can make yourself more Firewise by accumulating more knowledge, and how to make your home more Firewise by following some of the recommendations by people who really know and understand fires far better than I do. But we can certainly think about what we can do and then get actively engaged in being and then increasing our safety in the event of a wildfire. So thank you so much for being with us. I think it would be really great in the comments if you would share things that you are planning on doing around your own property to help be safe from wildfires. And we love our community. We love the idea that we learn together from each other. And we will see you very soon with more videos.